the fact is they're going to have an opportunity to outscore these teams down the stretch. And,
Yes.
and I think, look, it's probably maybe 25% chance of them doing it, but it's certainly doable.
It's definitely doable. And here's the other thing is the run game. They're facing teams that aren't very good against the run for the most part down the stretch. I think there are, I think it's like 3 of the next 5 are pretty low in the rankings in that regard too. So you can look at run game and defense as being 2 areas that, provided they stay healthy, that they should be able to finish strong. And the question is, can they string together those kind of games where you can win each game? I think that's just the hard part because they haven't shown that sort of consistency, but it does set up. It definitely does set up.
All right, so let's start with the running game. So P. Ryan has gone up for over 100 here, back-to-back games. First time, it's hard for me to believe this, but maybe Matthew Stafford can believe this, but it's the first time we've had back-to-back 100-yard rushers since 2013 in Alfred Morris. And P. Ryan, we kind of hoped that we would see this, but for the first 10 weeks or so, we didn't really see this. What's happening differently? Is he kind of creating this on his own, or is the patchwork offensive line doing their share also?
I think it's a combination of things. I think he was not in the spot earlier in the year, I think, to run like this. And when you'd watch him, especially in the first few games, you'd watch him like he was very, very impatient. And so you'd see guys pulling, and he would sometimes be ahead of the pullers. Well, that's clearly not where you want to be. Mm-hmm. And he recognized that. To P. Ryan's credit, it wasn't like he was saying, he's doing it right. He knew that he had to be more patient. So I think he's doing a better job of allowing the blockers to set up their blocks. So I think with that patience comes some better vision as well. And so I think he's been making some good cuts. You look at last, I think there were some really nice runs with the vision, but the Saints, before that failed 3rd and 1, he had 2 runs where he has to avoid guys in the backfield, and he got those first 9 yards were all off his cuts because there was pressure in the backfield. So I think he's doing a better job eluding some guys, but then also, again, allowing blockers to set up. I think you'd still like to see some more yards after contact from him, but I think the patience and the vision have been a lot better, and I think that's a big reason for the success.
All right, what about the emergence of Crowder here the last few weeks? The only thing I can gather from it is that he just flat out wasn't healthy to start the season.
Absolutely, and I think that was a big factor. He talked about that with his hamstring, how he was unable to, really come out of breaks the way he wanted to. And just, it's funny because you don't always know. It's hard to tell how much something is bothering a guy. But with him, it definitely was the hamstring. And he said a few weeks ago, he had told me that he was feeling better with that he felt like he was back to 100%. And so that definitely helps. I also think, the way this offense is, they do spread the ball around. Guys sometimes have hot stretches, but the hot stretch he's having is not just 1 or 2 games. It's now like 4 games where he's been a bigger part of the offense, and that does coincide with the hamstring feeling better.
Well, John, it also appears to me that you're seeing Jamison Crowder where I think we all think he belongs in the slot more than on the outside. And it seemed like earlier in the season there were times, maybe because they didn't have faith in Pryor and Doxson, but where he was more on the outside.
Well, he'll still be out there in certain sets, but even early in the season when they go to a 3-receiver set, he would be inside, but he was opening up as the Z receiver on the outside. But when they go to a 3-receiver set, he'd go inside. So I think he definitely does more damage from the slot, no doubt. And so when you're having injuries at tight end, the way they have with Jordan Reed, you do have to use more 3-receiver sets, and so that enables him to do more damage there, yes.
Talking to John Keim, covers the Redskins for ESPN and ESPN.com. Since you mentioned Jordan Reed, give us an update, and do you think that Jay Gruden is just getting tired of it? Because I've seen some of the quotes, and he seems like he just has no idea what the hell's going on.
He doesn't, and I think it's hard with hamstrings, as we saw. Reed tried to come back from this a couple weeks ago, and he practiced, and then he made it worse. And that's always the danger with hamstrings is coming back too soon. And since that time, I think it's like 2 or 3 weeks ago, he's been unable to practice at all. And Gruden said yesterday that they're not going to have Jordan Reed do any running for right now. That's clearly not a good sign for Thursday. I really don't think he'll play Thursday. I was told that he'd be back before the end of the year. I think that's why they haven't put him on IR. So, but when that is, I mean, Gruden told us the other day it could be 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks. He really doesn't know, and I think they just have to kind of keep monitoring it. But until he's able to start coming back to practice, even in a limited fashion, I just don't see it. And at this point, if they're not having him, if they're tapering off on the running, it's not a good sign for the following game either, although they do have a nice long break, a longer break after the Dallas game, so that should help.